welcome to the Warrior Academy podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. Your story is incredible. I've seen a lot of your stuff online. I've heard about your background and the things you've been through and your keynotes and things you talk about. We've had a chat just before you sat down today, talking about parenting and the various challenges that we know a lot of parents face. For anyone who doesn't know you, give us a bit of a background. Who is Doreen?
I'm Doreen Barbara. I've been living here in Dubai for almost 18 years. I got married and I moved here, and I have two lovely kids, 16-year-old boy and 11-year-old girl, and an amazing husband. My journey in sports started when I was very young. I was a basketball player. And then when I had my accident, my illness, my cancer, at the age of 15, and my leg got amputated, like my dreams were shattered. My dreams were almost gone in sports because I was so passionate. Then a turning point happened in my life where I regained my confidence and I started to play sports again and to really enjoy all the abilities that I have. And now I'm on social media sharing my life, sharing my experiences as a parent, as a wife, as an influencer, and speaking to people in companies and events, sharing my life, sharing my story in a motivational, inspirational way. And I achieved a lot, of course, a lot of achievements in sports as well since my turning point until now.
There are so many lessons and insights I think parents could gain from listening to your story and listening to the ups and downs and how much resilience was involved, but also how you can carry that over into your own kids, which I'd love to talk about. There's some really core elements here that I think we can dive into that will help parents. But take me back to your childhood. What was life like growing up?
I was a really funny, happy kid, although I lived in Lebanon, a country where there was war. So we were always, scared of bombs, of losing our houses, losing, limbs. So my childhood was a bit scary, but adventurous, but at the same time, I was a happy person. So I was very active, I like to play sports a lot, like I said, especially basketball.
So basketball's massive in Lebanon, right?
Yeah,
A lot of my Lebanese friends, they're really into it. This is the national sport? Or?
Yeah, exactly. It's a national sport. They are champions, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty famous in Lebanon.
So you were a teenager when you were really sort of pushing basketball in your own life, right?
Yeah.
And this became a massive part of your life, basketball, at that stage?
Yes. I was in school playing in the school team, and I was still, developing myself as an athlete in basketball. So I was still we started to play tournaments at that stage. Like I was 13, 14, started to play tournaments. So I started to enjoy the sports more.
The competitive side.
Yeah, the competitive side. So yeah, it played a big part in my life, basketball, because of course it's a very famous sport in Lebanon.
And then, was it 16 you mentioned? This is when your illness began?
15. I got diagnosed with the osteogenic sarcoma, which is bone cancer. And I was admitted to the hospital. I did chemotherapy, and then my leg got amputated. And that's it, yeah. So
tell me about that. I mean, that must have been just such a devastation to every aspect of your life, right? I mean, first of all, the impact that would have on the thing you love, basketball.
Yeah.
And then going back to school and trying to fit in. How did that impact your life?
I mean, aside from the physical impact, because at that age, teenagers, they're so concerned about their looks, about their, character. You develop your character at that age. So it impacted me physically and mentally. Mentally was the big part, of course.
Yeah.
Accepting what happened to me and accepting the new person I became, the new body I have, and I had to adapt to that. Also, there's a lot of things that happened with losing my leg, losing 2 years of my life in school because I had to be in the hospital getting treatment. So my friends were ahead of me in 2 grades, so I even lost friends, and I had to make new friends. So all of that played a negative role on my life, but also I also wasn't focusing a lot on that because I wanted to continue. I wanted to continue my life. I was passing through the emotional trauma. I was feeling hurt and depressed, but I was fighting that because I wanted to, live my life. I wanted to continue. I wanted to try to make the best out of what I have.
You mentioned going through something that devastating had such an impact on your life as it would, but at that age, it's when you're so impressionable, when you're so worried about what everyone else thinks, when so much of your mind is absorbed by other people's thoughts and opinions of you.
Exactly.
Did you go through any bullying at that stage, or?
Not direct bullying, I wouldn't say direct bullying, but the unawareness of the society. When they see someone different, their reaction, their looks. I passed through that a lot, and till now I pass through it.
Really?
But now my mentality has changed. Of course, the way I don't get impacted by it as much as before. But I mean, imagine yourself, like wearing something that's not appropriate. People will be looking at you all the time. But if you are different, like with me, without a leg, people are looking at me all the time, and they're questioning what happened, and they're asking questions, and they're saying pity words, which we don't like to hear.
Right.
Especially
with your character.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like people to pity me. Yeah, I need help. I move differently from other people. I have disability. I have certain needs, but that doesn't erase my mental power. That doesn't erase my intellectuality. I'm still intellectual. I still go to school. People used to ask my mom, she goes to school? Like, my mom, yeah.
And I guess that's down to a level of ignorance within society,
Exactly.
right? And a lot of people just don't understand, and that must really start to frustrate you when you see that time after time, and you've got to kind of educate everyone around you all the time. I can imagine that's being very frustrating.
But also it shocked me because the war had just finished in 1991, and I got cancer in 1993.
Right.
And I used to see people in the streets without limbs and having disability. So this is not something new. So I was like, why they're staring?
Yeah.
So one thing my mom used to tell me, they're not staring at you because you don't have a leg. They're staring at you because you're beautiful.
Right.
So she implanted this positivity in me just to take it in a positive way. They're not staring at you because you don't have something missing, because you have a plus. You are beautiful.
Yeah.
So that helped me in my life, like to face these.
When you look at your past and you look back at all the heartache and the devastation that would have caused your life at that time, there were obviously some clear influences on your character, which has set you up for a lot of success in life.
Yeah.
And we spoke a little bit about bullying before this, and we talked. One of the things you mentioned to me was you worked in a school where you were doing a workshop on bullying, and you explained that there are lots of famous people who actually were bullied, and they ended up being very successful.
Yeah.
And one of the books I wrote called Not a Victim, we interviewed 10 different people, very successful people, who attest the bullying they've been to, the success they've got now, to the bullying they've been to. So what they're saying is, because of that bullying, I had all this energy to put into something positive.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want that to be my identity. I chose not to be a victim. And so I put all that energy into growing myself.
Yeah.
Do you think that what you went through from a young age really propelled you forward in some ways, especially when it comes to your mentality?
Definitely, definitely. You cannot launch an arrow that you wanted to go fast and you wanted to hit a goal without it going backwards, right? You have to pull it really backwards until it launches. So I feel like what I passed through has brought me to rock bottom. I've hit rock bottom, but that gave me a lot of power.
Yeah.
Because it prepared me to what I did now, to the woman I am now today.
Almost like that rock bottom is actually a springboard that propels you
Exactly,
forward. Right?
exactly.
It's like you're falling off a cliff to jump off a trampoline, which then throws you up to reach your full potential, right?
Yes. And everybody nowadays, they want to succeed, right? Everybody wants to succeed, but they don't know that you learn nothing from success.
Yeah.
Nothing. What you learn is from the mistakes you make, the failures, the sleepless nights, all the emotions that you go through. You learn a lot about yourself through the journey to success.
Yeah.
It's not important to be successful. I think what's important is to learn in the journey, to learn from what you're passing through, and to take that pain to fuel you to achieve whatever you want to achieve.
If you look at some of the most successful people on the planet, sports people, business owners, whatever it is, I think that there's a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily say trauma, but like they're running away from something powerful and they're running towards something they really want. And there's normally this balance of running away from something and running towards something, right?
Yeah.
If you had to go into the mind of some of these people like Elon Musk, I bet it would be chaos, because no one would want to, necessarily go through what they've gone through to be that individual who's got to where they are.
Yeah.
We just see on social media this concept of what success looks like.
Yeah.
We don't see any of the journey.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. You don't see, you see only the tip of the iceberg. You don't see what has happened for that person to become this character, this success. So I think it's important to share the failures more than the success nowadays.
You're a parent to two kids, 11 and 16?
Yes.
And one of the things that I always get asked on this, we have amazing discussions with psychologists, doctors, best-selling authors, thought leaders, and so on. And I always share my opinion that parenting, to me, is this balance between empowerment and protection. Like, you want to protect your child to a certain degree, but you don't want to overprotect them.
Yeah.
You want to empower them, you don't want to push them too hard.
Exactly.
How do you, as a parent, when you draw back on your own experiences, which have been so focused on empowerment because of what you had to do to grow up, how does that influence your parenting with your own children? How do you find that balance?
Yes, I try to learn from my parents' mistakes as well. I imagine myself, like, when I talk to my kids, I imagine I'm talking to myself what I wish I heard.
Right.
At
that age.
At their age.
Isn't it funny when you look at your own kids, right? You're looking at them at that specific age.
Yeah.
You're almost given this opportunity to raise yourself again.
Exactly.
And it's so funny because, a lot of the things that we were missing at that age, you then kind of actually force onto your kids.
Yes.
Like, if you didn't have something, you've then got this strange energy that's kind of forcing you to do more of that with your child, or try to push them down this alleyway to kind of get into something.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, isn't it? If you were always overprotected as a child, you tend to lean towards the over-empowerment. Whereas if it was the other way around, and you were pushed so hard as a kid to go and achieve and do loads of sports, you end up overprotecting your kids.
Yeah.
In some way. It's interesting how our childhood influences at that specific age.
Yeah.
Your own kids and their development.
That's why you need to be aware. Like, I hear myself when I'm talking. I said, I don't want to make this mistake. No, I shouldn't speak this way. Because I want them also to figure out the solution, figure out whatever situation they're going through, to figure out the way out of it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard, because there is a thin line between wanting your kid to be the best and empowering them, and also achieving your dreams and them,
Yeah.
wanting them to be the person that you weren't.
Yeah.
So we have to be really careful in that, how to direct them, because they are new individuals. They have their life, they have their individuality, they're growing, they're developing their character. We need to guide them, like morally, like we talked about previously, morally, and also give them a lot of advice, and also model in front of them what we are teaching.
It's really interesting. You spoke about how we can force things onto children. I love basketball, and therefore you will love basketball, right? Or martial arts, and I see it all the time. One of the interesting conversations I had with a recent podcast guest she was a doctor, and it was an amazing conversation around psychology and parenting. And the conversation went to what were the most important human needs. And what really blew my mind is one of the most important human needs is authenticity. It's up there with food and social and all this sort of stuff. It's like authenticity. being who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
And when you force something on a child down a certain route, or you tell them this is what they need to do, and you try and force them a round peg into a square hole, what you end up doing is encouraging them to live an inauthentic life. And maybe the best goal of a parent, a bit like the most important thing a mentor can do for you, is to see potential in you and help you explore things.
Exactly.
So that you can find out who you are in the world and what it is you love.
Yes.
So you try lots of things rather than just saying this is the thing.
Yeah.
Because I think what ends up happening for a lot of parents is a year, 5 years, 10 years down the line, that child feels they're living an inauthentic life.
Yeah.
And then completely bounces back the other way and starts to resent you and resent what they're doing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you like you said, you need to. We are mentors to our kids. We need to mentor our kids towards the journey that they're about to embark in.
Yeah.
And it's really important to listen to our kids, because they are the most genuine people, and they're very honest, and they say the truth.
Yeah, sometimes you can get some great advice from them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You ever sat down and asked your kids for some advice? If you're struggling with something as a parent, just see what they come up with. You might get some black and white advice. There you go.
It happened to me. I was a bit tired, and I had an event I needed to prepare for, a speech, and I was like a little bit overwhelmed. And I was sitting at lunch with my daughter, and she told me, "Mom, what's wrong? You look tired, you look sad." I told her, "I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I have this speech I need to prepare for." And you know what she told me? She told me, "Yes, but you can do it. You're strong." She started like a motivational speech with me.
You were like, "This is great. You can come with me every day to work."
Exactly. I'm like, "Thank you." Because she watches me, and she watches my videos. She watches everything that I talk about, and she watches how I face my challenges, my daily challenges, and she's learning. She's looking.
That's cool.
They are watching without us knowing.
And isn't that amazing?
This is great.
You think that as a parent, you've got to tell your kids to do this, tell your kids to do that. The reality is you've got to show them.
Show them.
It's not about talking, because they'll listen to 1 out of 10 things you say, but they'll copy 9 out of 10 things that you do.
Definitely.
And that's a huge responsibility, really. But it's also very empowering, I think, as a parent, because ultimately your focus should just be on being a better person yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have, you've got it down, you know what to do, and you're living your life authentically, and you're, living life with courage and resilience, and you're doing all the things to grow as a person, inevitably your kids will follow that. So I think that's a very empowering thought, right? It's like, that is the way you should live as a parent.
Yeah, definitely. And they criticize you if you're saying something, for example, don't drink soda drink, and you're drinking.
Or on your phone too much.
I mean,
don't go on your phone. Don't go on your phone.
This is what they tell me. Yeah, this is what you are on your phone. I'm like, I'm working.
Yeah.
You're right. I should put the phone down. They teach you.
Accountability partners. Yeah.
Accountability. And it's funny, because back in the days, my parents, I couldn't, there was a certain respect, you couldn't speak back to your parents.
Yeah.
No means a no, and there was no explanation whatsoever. I mean, now you have to explain to the kid why you said no, or why you're telling me not to do this, or why am I supposed to do that. So you have to have a conversation with the kid to explain to them.
Let's talk about resilience, because I think it's a really important subject, and I think that parents watching this today want their kids to be resilient, but they also want to make sure their kids are safe. And so, like we said, it's trying to find that balance, right? And one of the things we spoke about before we sat down was part of teaching kids to be resilient is showing them how to be resilient, letting them see you go through difficult things and overcoming them. But I think there's a time and a place for that. I think that if you teach that, if you start showing a child when they're too young, this is how difficult life is, this is what I'm going through, it's like, whoa, I'm not sure I'm ready for it, right? I think there's got to be a time, a transition, where it's like you drip feed how difficult life is without them seeing it in one go.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at humans, when we are born and we are experiencing resilience, because when a child starts walking, he falls down. How we react to that will teach them. If we're like, oh my God, you fell down, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that will teach them, I should be taken care of if I fall down. The attention should be on me.
Yeah.
You know, while if you have a different reaction, it's okay, you're okay, it's okay, stand up.
Up you
You know,
jump.
yeah, up you
You
jump,
know?
yeah, go. You know, we teach them from a young age,
Yeah.
and they learn that
Yeah.
actually. So this grows with us.
Honestly, I've seen it so many times. You know, you see a child falling over at the park, and you see the overprotective parent sprinting
Yeah,
across the park, right? I once saw it in a park, and I swear the child fell over, right? And they were just playing. It wasn't even a bad fall. And there was this parent, and I think it was an only child, so typically the parent's slightly more protective, right? Sprinting across like a lifeguard
Yeah.
across the park, skidding on the floor, almost bumping into the kid, picking them up, and the kid was in shock about what the parent was doing. Are you okay? Are you okay? And then, of course, what did the child do? Just burst into tears, and it's like, well, now actually this is a big deal. I should be sad.
Exactly,
Right?
they feel the energy,
I think my kind of standard response when my kids fall over is up you jump. You know, you're okay. You know, are you? I think you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you have to also have the balance. I
Yeah.
mean, you cannot like throw your kid.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's true.
But it's like that. You teach kids from a young age. And I think one of the things that teaches kids resilience is sports, exercise, you know?
Yeah.
And being an example also will teach kids to love exercise and to be in sports. I see a lot of parents nowadays, they put their kids in an activity and they don't, they're not consistent. They remove the kid because they don't attend trainings, they don't attend, because, you know, you need to also encourage the kid. Some days he doesn't want to train.
Yeah.
He won't have the motivation. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to do this, but you
And it
as a
doesn't mean
parent,
you should stop.
exactly.
Yeah.
You as a parent, you should, talk to the kid and encourage them. You know, it's okay to rest. It's okay, but you have to keep going. This is good for you. This is how we teach our kids resilience. You know, like.
I mean, how else can you teach a child resilience, right? Everything a child does is pretty much, until they're a teenager, learning through play.
Exactly.
Even the lessons they do in school, primarily play focused, especially
Yeah.
in primary school, right? And so, you know, if you want to encourage a child to learn about resilience, sports is just such a fantastic opportunity to do that because they learn about teamwork, they learn about communication.
Develops character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They learn about, you know, losing, about winning, about
Exactly.
failure, about overcoming adversity. They learn what to do when they're tired. They learn how to push forward, all these different valuable things. But it's not easy for some parents because some kids, they just don't want to do sports.
Yeah.
You know, what would you say to a parent who's got a child who doesn't really want to do any sports at all?
I think, in my opinion, because the parent doesn't like sports.
Interesting. They haven't seen the
They
parent doing
haven't seen.
sports. Yeah.
My kids, when I had my turning point in 2013, and I regained my confidence and I started to exercise and to do sports, my kids were very young. Like
Yeah.
my kid was 5, Emilio, my son was 5 years old. So still young, but they grew watching me playing sports, me and their dad going to the gym every day.
Yeah.
And from then until now, we go to the gym together, we go as a family.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
we go as a
So
family
since
to
they
the
were
gym.
five-year-olds, they were
Yeah.
going to the gym with you.
Yeah, they go to the gym with
Wow.
us, they train with us, they see us training. This is our life. It's a lifestyle. It's
This
not
is a way of
something-
life, yeah.
it's a way of life. It's not like a certain activity that we do and we stop. It's a way of life, way of living. So that's
it's
why
the-
like they like it. It's part of their life.
I think that's brilliant. You know, you've got to make sports and movement and challenging yourself just a normal part of living, part of the
Exactly.
daily routine. Otherwise, when they actually realize, oh, I need to do this stuff just to stay healthy, it becomes a
Definitely.
strange thing which they've got to relearn how to do. Right?
Yeah. It's like people don't understand how much exercise is important for your mental well-being as well. It's not something that you should take lightly. It's not something that you do for a temporary time. It's something that you should be doing daily,
Yeah.
regularly, because you cannot focus. You cannot age well if you don't play sports or do any sort of exercise, any sort of movement. So it's really important.
Yeah. When we talk about resilience and we talk about a lot of what we've been talking about is overcoming adversity, a lot of the physical side. How would you say that you can prepare a child to be resilient when it comes to social life and to be resilient about the way people might speak to them or see them and that sort of stuff? And what sort of age would that resilience training begin?
I think through experience. You cannot like just and sit and talk to a child about resilience. I always like, I mean, I don't watch my kids, like they don't see me watching them, but I watch their behavior and I watch their relationships with people. And if they have any problem, I talk to them and I try to figure out how they're dealing with these relationships, how they're, setting boundaries with people, how they're, also to have their back also as well as a parent, if they're being mistreated or misunderstood, teach them these
To
stuff.
speak up for themselves.
Yeah, to speak up for themselves. And I teach them that. I teach them that a lot because nowadays there's different types of kids, different characters. They are exposed to social media a lot, So we have to be careful. We have to really watch our kids.
I think teaching kids boundaries is probably one of the most powerful things you can do as a parent.
Yes.
Because I feel like a lot of you get in life what you tolerate. Whether it's an unhealthy relationship because you tolerated that for too long and now it's just grown and got worse and worse, or a job you don't like, you've tolerated for so long and that's just, you've wasted 5, 10, 20 years doing it. Or you've tolerated a unhealthy lifestyle or a bad negative social group or whatever it is, right? And so I think that training of learning what you tolerate, which simply goes back to your boundaries, which goes back to your morals and your values, is so key. And so for me, what I love about what we do here is we really focus on developing a child's character, giving them a set of values to live by. Because if you cement those values of courtesy, integrity, indomitable spirit, of self-control, self-discipline, and they realize this is how I live my life, when they go to set their boundaries, well, for me, it's important that I move my body and I train every day, or for me, it's important that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, because that's my word, and I hold my word to a high degree. These kind of mini boundaries, they really cement how you're going to live your life. And I think that can start from a very young age.
It does start from a very young age, and it's not only teaching them, it's also teaching them how to have resilience when they face disappointment in life, because they're going to be disappointed in relationships and in their life in general. They're going to be disappointed, and it's important to teach them emotional intelligence, how to deal with their emotions, because at that age, being a preteen and a teen, there's a mix of emotions. We've all passed through this the stage of being a teen. Every day you're someone different, because you're feeling a lot of
trying to find yourself.
Trying to find yourself. So it's important to teach them how to control their emotions, because if they cannot control their emotions, they cannot take the right decision.
And learning how to regulate their emotions. Right?
Definitely regulate and express. I encourage my kids, or sometimes when, for example, I'm talking to them and they get angry, I let them get angry. They need to get angry in front of me. I shouldn't suppress that.
No.
Because I let them get angry. When they're done, I talk to them. This is what you did. It's bad behavior.
And being there with them through that.
Exactly.
What I find is that the immediate response if your child's in a super high emotional state for a lot of parents is isolation. That you need to go to your room. Right? You're being angry, whatever it is. And so from my point of view, it's like, well, they're relying on you to show them what to do in that situation because they don't know how to control their emotions. And you as a parent are like, well, I don't know how to deal with these emotions, so you need to go over there. And so really, the majority of times where a parent would isolate a child is because they themselves can't deal with that emotion.
But also give them time to calm down.
And coping mechanisms, learning how to breathe through it.
Exactly.
Right? Learning what to focus on.
Now you're very angry. I don't want to hurt you or you be disrespectful to me. Just go, have 10 minutes, and then we will talk. That's it, as simple as this. Because you as a parent also, you will get angry, and they will get angry, and you don't know what to say. So it's important to have this, to manage the anger, the emotion, the anger emotion is very, very tough.
Yeah, totally agree. One of the interesting things about resilience, and I speak to parents about this, is what I think, and it's kind of controversial in some ways, one of the best tools for developing resilient kids is developing a sense of humor.
Exactly.
Because life is so tough, and they're going to go through so many ups and downs.
Yeah.
When you can teach a child to find humor and joy, almost a sense of gratitude in some of the most tricky situations they're in, you raise their resilience so much.
Yeah.
You know, in the Royal Marines, they have a saying, cheerfulness in the face of adversity. In some of the darkest times when they're, you know, within the military or whatever they're doing, they will crack the jokes, and, you know, there'll be this banter within the team, and it will bring everyone's morale up. And I think there's an element of that with it that we have within ourselves, right? We can find humor in things, and it's not necessarily a dark humor, but it's finding a way to be cheerful when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
But there's more than that, right? When it comes to humor and a sense of humor. When you look at bullying, I think one of the we're a self-defense organization, right? We teach kids to defend themselves.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at what you can use to defend yourselves against bullies, one of the best things you can use is a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And if you can arm your child with a sharp wit, they can de-escalate so many situations which could go into something physical.
Yeah.
So long before there's a physical altercation where you need to use martial arts techniques to defend yourself, if your child is equipped with a sharp wit, they can de-escalate situations very quickly.
Yeah.
And so for me, one of the things I like to do with my kids is I have a laugh with them all the time and tease them a little bit, age appropriate, very carefully, but tease them a little bit until they turn around and tease me back. And so you've got this kind of banter from a young age becoming quite normal. So if they're ever teased when they're out on their own, they're very, very quick to respond. No problem at all.
Yeah. I get you, because, if you see some comedians, they joke about something that they used to be insecure about, and now they joke about it because they use it. Maybe they were bullied about having, for example, a big nose. They would like joke about it.
Yeah.
So they use it as a joke, and it makes the bullying useless.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
When you own and love every trait about yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard for someone to target that.
Exactly.
Also, put it this way: as a bully, imagine you're a bully. The last person you want to pick on is a comedian, because you would just be destroyed.
Exactly.
It's just not worth it, is it?
You would be roasted.
I know. You're just gonna go past them, aren't you? You don't want to have anything to say on them.
Yeah.
But it's so true, and it's just people they miss this point, right? A sharp wit is so powerful. But it was really interesting what you just said: owning and loving the traits about yourself. And I write about this in the Not a Victim book, and I kind of call this black belt content, because if I have a workshop full of parents and I talk about this, they won't like it. I have to. This is the multivitamin, not the paracetamol, right? Yeah. And so if you really want to understand bullying, you first need to understand it's a flow of negative energy. The next thing you need to understand is that we attract it into our lives through the traits that we don't own or love about ourselves. If you're insecure about your weight or your height or how you look, you will become a target of bullying because of the way you perceive it.
Definitely. It's from inside out.
Exactly.
This is what in my experience also, I used to feel like, they're looking at me, because I had these thoughts, because I'm looking at myself.
Yeah. And now you're in a completely different situation because of the way you look at yourself, you own and love who you are.
Exactly. No, I don't have a problem with it. I can talk about it openly, and I share it with people, and I don't have a problem with people asking me also about it. So it depends on your mentality, on how you view yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
And in bullying also, kids need to know also that it's not, when you are bullied, it's not about you, it's about the bully.
Yeah.
The bully, he maybe he's bullied, and he's,
that flow,
doing this behavior.
energy.
Yeah, doing this behavior to other people. So it's not about you, it's about the bully himself.
Now imagine this, right? The bullying we experience is actually almost like the universe's way of saying, this is something you need to work on. This is something you need to love about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's brutal, but most of the lessons that we get in life are, let's be honest, right? And bullying is one of the first core lessons we learn as human beings. If you're going through something and you're getting very triggered by it, probably because you don't own or love that about yourself, but you're insecure about that, and you need to own that.
Yeah.
And then if you go into parenting, right? What are kids great at? Showing you what you're triggered with.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah,
and
they
so
say the truth in your face. They say it in your face.
And you can parent your kids and be like, you're really angry or upset about something, and if you have awareness, you'll look third person on yourself. Like, well, why was I upset about that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe that's stemming back to your own childhood, right? Maybe your parents put a lot of pressure on you for that specific thing, and now you've got, you know, an over amount of pressure on that for your children you shouldn't have, or whatever it is. And so I think being aware of our triggers is a really powerful awareness aspect, right? If we can work on that as people, we become better parents, we become better people.
Definitely.
And that's the same thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And also another point on bullying, how we can use that as well to grow and to transform ourselves. Sometimes the bully is right. I mean, if he's saying a comment to you and it triggers you, it means you need to get better. You know, for example, if you're doing a certain sport, or he tells you, oh, you're not good at this, you know, like he's like being negative, like use this to get better.
Yeah.
Show them, you know, this will
Negative
fuel
feedback.
you. It will fuel you.
I mean, even as a business, we're a little bit different here. We obsess over negative feedback. We almost go out and ask people to give us negative criticism. And so when we have a meeting every Monday about negative criticism, if there's a 1-star review at the Warrior Academy, which happens, you know, we try our best, but we're human. We have a meeting, and within 48 hours, whatever they've said, we've implemented changes to improve it. And it's won us awards all over the Middle East and the world for customer service, because we beat, in the last award we entered, we beat Carrefour and Majid Al Futtaim, all these massive public listed companies, because of how quick we are to take that positively and use it to improve.
Yeah.
Of course, you're always going to get bullies. Even small businesses get bullied, right?
So you're saying it's not a constructive criticism? I mean, this is constructive criticism,
yes,
right?
we try to find constructive criticism in it.
Okay.
And sometimes it takes some digging, right? Because sometimes if someone leaves a bad review or they've got a negative comment, you have to get to the real reason, which can take a bit of...
Are they saying this just to destroy you? Because
exactly, they were upset by something, but it's what caused that. And so it tends to be some conversations around it before we get to the real thing, and then we can quickly implement to improve. Of course, just like in real life, right? There's constructive criticism, or it doesn't necessarily, it's not designed to be constructive, because there's a lot of hate. If you're in school and you're being picked on by someone, you know, criticizing the way you're playing basketball, for instance, it could be just because they don't like you, or you know, they're going through something negative. It's not designed to make you better. Yeah. But you have the decision to say, I'm taking that to improve, right? Yeah. And so it's a perception thing, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Are you focused on self-development, or do you want to be a victim?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a perception.
Managing your reaction to this. Yeah, how you respond, not react, actually. You should respond more than react. When you react, you're just reacting, and you can do something wrong, when you're acting anger or anything, any bad emotion. But when you respond, you take your time and you respond to that. Yeah.
What's the best way to teach a child that, to respond and not react? How do you teach your kids that?
I tell them, like, to think a lot before they speak, and to,
in the moment.
In the moment.
When they're at that heightened state of emotion.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do mistakes also as well. I mean, they need to see me also how I deal with responding and reacting.
Kind of control your emotions and then respond properly.
Yeah, definitely. If I don't have, for example, if we're in an argument and I don't have answers, like, I tell them to give me time. Like, I need to find the answer. You know, I need to, because I don't want to, like, give them the wrong answer or influence them in a bad way. So I need to find a way to really deliver the answer right. Yeah,
definitely. And actually, what's really interesting is, I think there's great opportunity in slipping up in front of your kids, like making a mistake. If you can drop your ego and own up to those mistakes, right, and say, look, that's not how I should respond. I did that wrong. If you go through that, make sure you don't do it like I did.
We do this a lot, me and my husband, because we do mistakes. You know, sometimes we respond in a bad way, and we tell them, you know, we're sorry, we shouldn't have done this. This is bad behavior. We should have done this. You know, there's nothing wrong. It takes courage, actually.
I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, it is hard, but it takes courage. It teaches them courage also to admit.
And it's leadership, right? Because at the end of the day, you're meant to be this, like, perfect role model who's always right, and this is how you should live.
I'm against that.
I agree. And
I think they should be real. Parents should be real with their kids. And if they don't know the answer, I don't know it. You know, sometimes I tell my daughter, let's Google it.
But I feel like a lot of parents feel like they should. They feel like they should always be right. But actually, sometimes being wrong can be, if you're able to drop the ego and do the hardest thing, which is admit your faults.
Yeah.
I think you've got this amazing opportunity to teach your kids, right?
Yeah. I mean, do they want to be right or they want to be the right person to go to?
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like if I'm fighting always to be right, my kids will like sometimes say yes, and deep down inside they don't agree.
Yeah.
But I want them to feel I'm open to any suggestion.
And also, I feel like
for a conversation.
Yeah, and if you always have this perception of you need to be right all the time, I think you paint a picture of life that's just wrong.
Yeah.
Right? It's this kind of false image of what they should grow into. It's a false aspiration of what they should develop and
Yes.
how life should be. And I think a really important thing in life is to drip feed that reality in, right? Otherwise, if you don't, then they're going to hit adulthood and they're going to feel guilt and shame, and they're going to get hit with adulthood with full force.
Yes,
You know?
yes, definitely. I agree, totally agree.
Completely off topic, not
Yeah.
about parenting at all, but actually about resilience. Tell me about your world record, the Guinness World Record, because I saw this earlier and that was so cool. Tell me about that.
Yeah. You know, I never thought that one day Guinness World Record will contact me and ask me to break a record, actually. I didn't contact
So
them.
they got in touch with you?
They got in touch with
You
me.
were headhunted by the
Yeah.
Guinness.
Because, you know, they were launching a new category for people with disabilities, people with impairments. So worldwide, they were launching it, and they were choosing people to, you know, like encourage
Okay.
people with disabilities to start breaking records.
Yeah.
And they chose around like 4 people around the world just to choose a record to break it and to launch this category. And they chose me from the Middle East. So it was like something.
Amazing.
Wow, amazing, you chose me. I mean, this is it by itself as a record. So, yeah, and I wanted to do something that's achievable. That's not like flipping in the air or I didn't want to do something that's not, I can't do in my normal life or in my normal exercise. So that's why I chose the one-leg wall sit. And the record was 1 minute 15 seconds, and I did 2 minutes 8.34 seconds.
Wow.
So yeah,
So
I trained.
almost double the record then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I trained a lot, and I trained for almost 1 month and 10 days, and yeah, I broke the record, and it was a great achievement for me because, you know, in the 90s we used to open the book and get, you know, inspired by people.
I remember opening the book when I was younger and flicking through it, and
Yeah, this was our entertainment. We didn't have social media. We didn't have anything. You know, like the book was like.
Or playing outside. That was
Yeah,
it, yeah.
exactly. Playing outside. So for me to do that, to be in the book, actually, it was
That's
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When you look back at your life, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of every pain I felt. I'm proud of every hurt I felt because I feel now like this has brought me somewhere. You know, it wasn't in vain. It wasn't something that doesn't have a purpose. The purpose was for me to achieve what I have achieved now. Because I achieved everything I achieved now is I dreamt of, and I was gonna achieve with 2 legs or without a leg. And I think my destiny was to reach my goals, to reach these goals despite my disability. You know, I still reached everything I dreamt of.
Amazing. I think that's brilliant. If you, just to finish today's amazing conversation, I'd love to get your ideas around this, right? Sometimes you can ask someone for their values in life. And one of the best ways to find out someone's values in life is to ask this one simple question. Imagine you're on your deathbed and you're in your old age, you lived a fantastic life, and your kids who have now got their own kids come to see you. And you're allowed to give them 3 pieces of advice only. And that is the last thing you're able to leave with them. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
What would those 3 pieces of advice be?
You are enough. Don't care about other people's opinion of you. And nothing is impossible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Doreen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the breakthrough area assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the breakthrough area assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.